On this episode, I primarily want to talk with you about what if the stimulus payment you got was wrong. You expected a certain amount, but when you finally got it, it was not what you thought it would be, either because you weren't supposed to get the amount you thought, or you know you were supposed to get a certain amount, but the IRS did not get it to you correctly. I'm going to give you some updated information the IRS just released today about that. But also remember, this week is important because on Wednesday, May 13th, many individuals who are part of the SSI and veterans categories are going to finally receive their first stimulus deposit from the CARES Act. So that is a good thing. But moving on to why might your stimulus payment not have been the amount you thought it was going to be, or maybe you know somebody who's in this situation. All of this is probably not going to apply to you, but some of it might. The first thing the IRS lists is that you filed a 2018 tax return, but not a 2019 tax return, meaning the IRS processed old information. So maybe things changed that would have given you more money, but the IRS went on old data. Or you filed 2019 or used the IRS's non-filers tool, but the IRS didn't process it on time and then just sent you the payment without actually processing the new information. If you fall into that category, mostly everything is pointing to you will receive your additional economic impact payment next year on your next year's taxes. Now, some of you might say, I don't file taxes every year, so how am I going to receive it on my next year's taxes if I don't file? I would think that the IRS is going to include some sort of a tool next year if you fall into that category, or you might have to free file again in order to receive that payment. The next one that they're indicating here is that a claimed dependent is not eligible for the additional $500. So in order for a claimed dependent to get the $500 payment, there's a number of things that have to happen. First, they have to be under the age of 17. Second, they have to primarily be under your care for at least half of the time, or you must provide for at least half of their needs. And generally, they're supposed to be related to you. If those things are fulfilled, you will probably get the $500 for it. But if they aren't, a lot of times the IRS is not granting the $500 under those situations. Another thing that might arise is a situation in which, down here, this bottom paragraph, parents who are not married to each other and do not file a joint return cannot both claim their qualifying child as dependent. So the parent who claims the child will probably end up receiving the $500 economic payment, and the other parent will not. And so this could sometimes cause that situation. The last sentence is really interesting here. It says when the parent who did not receive the additional payment files their 2020 tax return next year, they may be eligible to claim up to an additional $500 per child amount on that return if they qualify to claim them. So that's sort of interesting. I'm not exactly sure what they mean here. If the $500 was already paid out to the parent that did claim them and the one that didn't could possibly get it next year, it's a little strange. But you may fall into this category here. The next one is you may not get the amount because you claimed a college student as a dependent. Remember, the dependents have to be under the age of 17. Even if they're a college student, yes, a student, that's not going to be able to receive $500 for that. They can claim themselves, and in that situation, the college student will receive the $1,200 payment. The claimed dependents are parents or relatives of age 17 and older. So again, this happened a lot where older individuals, their needs are provided for by another individual, at least half of their needs. And because of that, they're claimed on somebody else's taxes. In that situation, you would not receive the $500. I don't agree with this. I kind of think this is really ridiculous that they're doing this. But this is one of the reasons that they're listing why your payment is not as high as you thought it would be. Past child support is due. So this is one that came up a lot. If you owe past due child support, then they are garnishing that off of your payment. This is the economic impact payment is offset only by past due child support. So obviously not if you're up to date and current. One thing that is happening, though, is in this last paragraph, there's a lot of individuals who are married and they file as injured spouse past due, meaning one of the spouses owes past due child support. So you can file injured spouse, which means that your payment amount should not have been affected by their past due child support. But the IRS is noting that in many situations that is happening. If that is your case, the IRS is saying don't do anything right now. They know that this is a problem and they are going to begin to address it. If you want to go deeper into this, again, I will leave this source for you below and you can read through it on your own to try and get some more information. The amount was garnished by creditors. So federal tax refunds, including the economic impact payment, are not protected from garnishment by creditors by federal law. This could probably impact a lot of people and they don't even realize it. So this might be one reason why you didn't get a payment, or it wasn't nearly the amount you thought it would be. And then they finish up with, what if the amount of my economic impact payment is incorrect? Obviously, they say everyone should review the eligibility requirements. In many instances, eligible taxpayers who received the smaller than expected economic impact payment may qualify to receive an additional amount early next year when they file their 2020 federal tax returns. This is going to bring me to my main point that I think most people are going to fall into. You either used Intuit TurboTax or the IRS's free non-filers system, and on that system, you legitimately claimed individuals. And unfortunately, the IRS has not processed that information fast enough, and they ended up sending you a payment just for yourself. So you only got $1,200 when you really should have gotten $1,200 plus $500 or another $500, depending on the amount of children. And now you're sort of stuck in, what do I do next? Is the IRS going to just send you off a check or a payment once they process this? Everything is indicating no, they're not going to. Once they sent you your payment, that's it. That's your payment. However, you will be able to recoup that money next year on the 2020 tax returns that you do. I've already stated this before. I know a lot of individuals who did that don't normally file taxes. So how am I going to get my money if I don't normally file taxes? Well, you're either going to have to use next year's IRS's non-filers or free file system again to get your money, or you're going to have to file taxes with Intuit TurboTax, or just wait for the IRS to give more information about this next year, because it will become a thing next year. Enough people are falling into this category where it's a problem for them. I will keep you guys up to date on that. If you want to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, if you fall into any one of these categories and need more information, as more information comes in, we will give it to you. Like I said, I'm leaving this tool in the description below. If you want to go through it in more detail on your own, please go ahead and do that. We will catch you guys next time.